All right. Let's see what we got cooking here. I think that'll work. Whoops, sorry guys. How's it going? This is Jack Divine, and I am checking in with an episode of Office Hours here. I've got some time before the house is a buzz. We've got members of the household out of town. So I am fortunate enough to be all by myself here for most of today. Hey, a buzz. There we go. Super happy to be able to tune in today because I'm feeling a little blue. I found out a family member of mine passed away overnight, and real special lady. So I'm here today, with a little blues in my heart, but, just the same. Figured I would try to get my mind off of that. Not sure what we're going to talk about today, but we'll see what happens. I'm here, getting ready for a show this week and some rehearsals tomorrow. And I wanted to share, some ideas here that I've been working around with lately. Some ideas that you guys probably see me use, maybe could come in handy for. Hey, yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the sentiment there. Thank you for saying so, Daddy Fat Pants. So, I wanted to talk about these ideas that I do sometimes. One of the things that I'll talk about often will be if let's say I'm playing over a static D chord or something like that. We'll make it a Mixolydian sound just to make it super applicable to this Grateful Dead stuff that we're always talking about. Let's get that to 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of the ideas that I'm doing in there, oh yeah, thank you, Doug. Some of the ideas that that I utilize an awful lot are these kind of things where I'm basically taking the A, D, and G string, and I'm looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, but with the accent on the second note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, or I can rotate the accent. 1, 2, 3, okay, but if we were to say take the A, D, and G string, and we slide into like this C chord shaped D chord, and then, or we can, since we're over a D7 sound, we can actually go back and forth between two chords. We can go between like a D and a C. Or any kind of mix between the two. And then get out of the pattern, because you don't want to do the pattern more than 3 or 4 times. That's when it starts to sound a little bit formulaic. So something like that. So here. maybe that's kind of sweet. Or we could do, that little first part is really what I'm on about here, okay? So we're gonna go from C up to D. All right, and then we can, hey, how's it going? How communication works. So we can grab any 1, 2, 3, 4. So the idea is for you to find ideas that you can access quickly. So maybe you just loop it. Hey Bruce, how's it going? And so then if we bring that up, we could do that, right? We could do that. Sorry. Right, we could go up through our modal shapes, sure, or we could keep arpeggiating D7 sounds, right? That, or maybe even pivot to the D, G, and B pair or sets. Right? So that's this. Same shape, but it means something a lot different. So that's 1, 3, 5 of our D sound. Right? But up here it'll be the flat 7, the 9, and the 3rd. So as we come through, and we can come up there. All right, and then break out into ideas. So these ideas, hey, all good. Yes, you're good, I'm good. Well, I'm kind of limping around a little bit here, but I'll be all right, I lost my parents a while back, and this lady kind of took the role of that maternal figure for me. So now we can look at like stacking up more approach tones. All right. Now we can do that with other groupings. It doesn't always have to be with 4s. It's just I think that that's a very easy way to get into this idea. And the thing that I like about it is just like any system, it helps kind of, hey, Rye Naylor, my buddy, and fellow traveler on the guitar. Rye's been doing some amazing work, and I might as well let the cat out of the bag. He's been helping me by transcribing a bunch of my solos and things like that. So if anybody here is interested, there's tablature available for a whole host of lessons. I think he's done, I think there's about 10 of them now. I can't remember all of them. I know he just did the lesson I did on Deal. He did Franklin's Tower. He did the tabs off of Althea. He did the tabs off of the I Know You Rider, which is actually pretty similar to that. I feel comfortable soloing over Bertha Aiko, changes in playing key-centered with those simple chord changes. What's a good next song to learn to understand to playing over changes? Tony asks. Well, the good news is that, there's really, that's all you ever really need to be able to do, Tony, is when you think about it, is by switching from one to the next. You never have to switch to two things at the same time. So all you have to do is realize, okay, fine. Now I have to have you have to have your stuff together for maybe an extra third or fourth chord, right? I personally think that a good next move is something that's non-diatonic, like the Eyes of the World solo. That's a good one to deal with, because if we look at that, right, we're dealing with an E major, then B minor, then A. So let's get that loop going. 3, 4. Okay, so now we're here. Okay, and what's happening in there is, yeah, I definitely do it with I actually did a whole Arkit Mahal. I'm not sure, Arkit, yeah, break down those seventh arps. Will do, right? So the idea is, stemming back to Tony's question, the idea is that we're playing over the E tonal center. All right? But then when we go to the B minor is not part of the E major tonal center, okay? So this is gonna be functioning as the 2 chord for the A that we go to. So we're going E Ionian, 2 of the A chord. So B Dorian over top of the, and then, sorry. Okay, again. So basically A major with its 2 chord, and then into it the 1 chord, okay? So I'm sorry, I just pronounced Archit. Okay, sorry buddy, never heard that name. Okay, bop it, twist it, Archit, gotcha, Archit. All right, so the idea here is that we're gonna be going, basically looking at the differences between the E major center and the A center, okay? And when you look at the difference between E major and A major, the only difference really is between this E flat and or D sharp and E and D natural. So if we could break down the issue here, we would be playing E, then E mixolydian, right, which is the 5 of the second tonal center of A, and the 2 of the second tonal center. So you could basically just look at these 3 notes. Watch, 2, 3, 4. Back a fret, and on the 3rd of the A. So. that's how that's done. But that's what's happening in my mind, anyways. I'm thinking about that. Doesn't even need to. Oh, I mean, I'm looking at the camera to make sure that I'm actually showing you what. If you'd be surprised how many times I've looked and gone like this while I've been teaching. Like, well, it's important that the hands there. Man, I always thought eyes was impossible to learn to solo over. Same with half step. Nah, not at all. No, eyes is actually pretty reasonable in that you once you realize that you just have access to getting at that. Can I handle those changes down around the first few frets? Usually just hang around the 9th fret and stuff. But how you handle the changes around the 1st to 4th frets down in here? Sure, of course. So basically at that point you'd be looking at E major. So the only note that's going to change is this E flat is going to go, or D sharp is going to go down to D, and then over the A. So we could do that here. That would be 3, 4. Like that. Okay, so that's how I would look at it, like right around there. So you're playing, that's going to feel like you're playing a Lydian, but a Lydian is E major, right? And so then you can always kind of revamp the note choices that you're looking at to accommodate that. Now let's go back. There's some other little questions here. All right. So as far as the 74 style changes, if you look back and look for Archit, if you look back, there's an office hours on Eyes of the World that I did that says all parts yes, even including the wild 74 changes or something like that in the title. So look for that and it'll walk you through the entire thing. I feel comfortable soloing over Bertha, Aiko, bum, bum, bum. So that's why I would suggest getting into this. It's going to be that. So break down the 7ths are, we can definitely do that. And I always thought soloing over eyes was, okay, so half step we can talk about, but that's maybe another thing. Any tips for soloing over brown-eyed women? Stay in E major. That's all E major. Can you handle those changes down around there? Yes, I did that. And then Morning Jack, do you ever do... Scott Cachopo, yeah, that's primarily what I do. Scott asks whether or not I teach Zoom lessons. Yeah, that's what I do most days, like maybe 4 or 5 hours a day, except for Tuesdays. I don't do that. Are there any Jerry runs through this E major 7 to B minor that I've heard in shows that just feel unnatural, or runs that you don't really know how we improvise because it's just strange? The truth is, thank you, Ludwig, for saying I'm good. Back to you, Archit. I don't actually play, believe it or not, I actually don't play a lot of Garcia lines. I don't play a lot of his actual lines. I just think in terms of like that sound of the era of Garcia's music that I like and the way he played it. You could just reach out to me at Jack_Divine or leave your email here, Scott, and I'll reach out to you. No problem. I'm happy to, or you can text me at 917-806-2601 and I'll get right back to you if you want to try to set up some lessons. So the idea is that I don't really know an awful lot of exact note for note Garcia stuff. I just can kind of aping his sound by virtue of the middle pickup and a slightly overdriven, overbright strat with a lot of reverb. All right, I'm playing his songs. That right there, it does an awful lot for making it sound like Garcia songs, because it is, it is a Garcia song. And so as long as you know what notes you're supposed to be hitting and you kind of understand how to do it's kind of like doing an impression, but you're not actually saying lines from the movie. So like everybody's got like, let's say you've got a Christopher Walken impression, right? But it's much more funny to do Christopher Walken doing something like ordering Popeye's fried chicken sandwich, rather than doing a line out of a movie that he already said, that you can obviously already emulate. You can actually copy that. The most difficult Dead song to solo over, I don't really think of any of them as being really difficult. But then again, I don't play. Odd meter tunes can be hard. Like, so maintaining your composure while you're playing over like estimated could be an issue, I suppose, if depending on which section of the song you're playing over. I mean, the outro jam, not so much, because that's just kind of a blanket F sharp minor sound. But playing over the boom ba ba dum dum boom boom da boom ba da da boom ba da da boom da da. Okay, so that kind of thing. The 11, right? Yeah, so the 11 is obviously pretty complex. But then again, not a lot of people do the 11. So I've never played it in a band, for example. Most people, it's not that they skip it because of the complexity of the music so much as how much they don't like the sound of the singing. I'm not really crazy about the kind of crazy high harmonies and the stuff to that. But for me, I'd say probably the most ambitious is the. I'd say that that's probably the most intense thing that we do consistently as Grateful Dead guitar players, and that we will be called upon, and we need to actually hit those marks right there. So being creative over the Slipknot, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much kind of aping those kind of. That kind of. Yeah, kind of alluding to the stuff that I picked up over the years of playing the Blues for Allah stuff. So that's good. So for eyes, Tony has a question here. Is your brain actively saying go from E to B minor to A? I don't know modes. Just hey, Rye, take care of yourself, dude. Definitely see you soon. Okay, it's great catching up this morning. As far as your question, so for eyes, is my brain actively saying go from E to B minor, then to A? Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. I'm sitting there going E, B, A, B, A, E. That kind of thing, you know? So that's how I would be approaching that all the time. Greg! Oh my goodness, how's it going, dude? Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. My aunt died. So, but thanks for saying hey. Really wanted to thank you for the chord soloing lessons. Starting to bear some juicy fruit in your playing. That's wonderful to hear from Greg, former student. Greg was particularly challenging as a student to teach because he plays in open G and I don't, and so it was hard to somehow to consistently break down ideas to accommodate his fingerings and needs. So I learned quite a lot working with Greg over the year that we studied together, and I too became friends with him, I think. So it was nice. Ah, there it is. Yeah, I love you too, dude. So let's get back to some of these here questions here. So for eyes, yes, Tony, this is at you. I absolutely am thinking E. E. Get ready. B. A. E. Okay, A. Like that kind of thing. So that would be how I would definitely approach all that stuff, all right? As far as, so I think that basically handles saying, like, all the questions about whether or not I have actual Jerry runs and things like that. Not so much. I mean, maybe some things off of records, like when I first heard, I kind of figured out my own little way out of that China Cat thing. So, it was kind of nice to be able to do all that. It isn't that complicated, Tony. To be honest, you could basically look at this like you're playing all these notes. All right? If you just kind of stuck in here, and then on your way down on the first chord, you include this note, or even, and then on the way down. Okay, and then maybe you keep going to get into the third of the A chord, okay? It's really more about where the emphasis is, right? If you're sitting there going like this, that's how you're going to try to find your way through some of those things. And I'm not trying to seem cavalier by just kind of blowing through it and improvising like that. It's hard to do it any other way than like at speed for me at this point, but I can break it down and then look at what I'm doing. But none of those lines are Garcia lines. They're not even my lines. They're just things that kind of went into, like, they just came out of me. It's just like a doodle. All right. But that's the point, is that you should be able to learn how to basically play with what you already know, and then put this in there, and then, and that's how I'm just going to do that. All right. So, okay. So, although Rai took off, he did ask to talk about those sevenths chords. Let's look at that. Okay. We are always looking at triadic structures, right? So that's 1, 3, 5s, right? So even if we're in the, let's say we're in the key of C. So if we look at the 1 chord, it's going to be 1, 3, 5, or 1, 3, 5, or 1. So we can see that that is on the A, D, and G strings, or the A and 2 notes on the D string, or the A, 2 notes, and then It's a Wonderful World? Oh, you mean the I see the The blue, what is it, blue? What a wonderful world. What a wonderful world. The Louis Armstrong song. I haven't ever done a lesson on that. I do love that song. Yeah, yeah. I love that song. I've never actually played it. It's a beautiful, beautiful series of chords. Good thinking, Fender Nocaster. Oh, okay, Fender Nocaster 009, 109. So the idea of the sevenths arpeggios, though, that we were talking about is that if we look at what's happening within that structure of going 1, 3, 5, right? And that's, remember, we're in the key of C. So if we come up to the next note in the scale and do Tony, I hope you can do that, and don't worry about lessons so much. Just keep playing, and if you see stuff on my channel that you like, most often there's a lesson that accompanies it, and you can bite it off as you wish. Private lessons are expensive, and they definitely, they're not in everybody's realm of possibility. They can't not everybody can afford to hire a golf pro or a tennis pro or that kind of thing. And to be honest, I do feel like they can be very meaningful and achieve quite a lot in a short amount of time, but they also are, it is a luxury, to be able to hire somebody to help guide you more directly and more in a more bespoke fashion. So no hard feelings if you want to tune into, lots of the office hour things whenever I'm on. I wish I had a schedule, but I don't. I'm just too chaotic a dude, so not there. Yeah, I know, Jacob, thank you. Somebody said something about that this was all a clever marketing scheme for me to get students. Trust me, there are easier ways of getting lessons than going and giving tons of free hours worth of lessons into the into the ether of the internet. All right, so let's talk about these how to make arpeggios out of sevenths and stuff like that. So when we see this one, wow, Uber Jam Sam kicked in at $10. Thank you, that is very kind of you, sir. So by the way, anybody likes that idea? I certainly like money. Money's a great thing. So Sam, if you have a question specifically, I will happily answer it after I tackle this thing. Either way, thank you very much. That's incredibly generous of you. So if we grab the 1 and the 3 and the 5 in our key of C, then the 2, 4, and 6 of that same scale will form the triad of the 2 chord. And then the 3, 5, and 7 will form the triad of the 3 chord. And the 4, 6, and octave will form the triad of the 4 chord. And so on and so forth up the... Okay, and what we need to do is figure out how to do this. That's all right. Sorry, I keep getting fucked up. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so that's all on the A, D, and G string. Now, we can do 2 notes on the D string. And then, last but not least, 2 notes on the A string. So those are triads, right? And that's the most important stuff, all right? You got to know your 1, your 3, and your 5. But how do we actually come up with that system? Does anybody see the pattern? It's literally every other note in the scale. So 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6. And that's how we form chords. Well, what if we take that system and go one further? So that would make 1, 3, 5, 7. And my friend and comrade mentioned, hey, sevenths arpeggios, break those down. So if we look at 1, 3, 5, major 7, Oh, yeah. Hey, so Anthony says, I wanted to thank you for helping me learn how to play your rendition of Althea because it's beautiful improvisation, and I think I'm the best teacher I've ever had. Well, that's incredibly kind of you to say. I want to clarify that that is not an entirely improvised thing. That was largely premeditated. No, that was largely premeditated because I knew I was going to have to be teaching it. So I had some time to think about what I wanted to do. And I think that my solo was better for that. Being able to have some time to collect my ideas and structure them. I don't think I'm too far from that, but that was pretty nicely paced. I really like the contour of that solo. So I just want to be clear that that wasn't just me whipping it out and just going bonkers and having fun. I think my rendition is well, that is really nice. Don't forget some of those licks in there are actual Garcia lines. I think there's that one nice one where it goes what. He does like this really cool little, yeah. Was it something like that? So that recording off "Go to Heaven" is really chock full of awesome version. That's a great, treasure trove. Not a lot of people give that record a lot of time, but there's some good playing on it. Back to the idea of these triads and finding sevenths arpeggios. So if we wanted to, we could look at a 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. So that's going to look like, oddly enough, you're going to start to see some other structures that you recognize. This is usually the relative minor of whatever major chord this is. And conversely, it flips around. Watch, this is an F chord here with a D in its base, and that forms a D minor with a flat 7, D minor 7. And D minor and F major are relative minor and major, right? Same as this is C major with an A minor, they're relative minor and major. If we come up again, E minor is connected to G major. If we come up again, we see an F chord. There's F major 7, which has several common tones with the D minor 7 or just a D9 chord. That would be the minor third, the fifth, the flat 7, the 9, and the 5 of a D minor 7 add 9 chord. So if we put the D in the bass here, watch. Okay, there's that. If we keep coming up, we'll find, so that's then we would find this. Okay, that's a G7 chord. See, that's the flat 7, that F. And so these little, that's part of it. We find a little diminished chord embedded inside of our dominant 7th sound. All right, that's kind of an interesting anomaly. Then we have A minor with a little C chord as part of it, right? So we can keep finding these like this. And again, we don't have to play them across all 4 strings. We can now start to go. I don't play those too often, all right? Then we could do that's my preferred method, is what we call a 2-1-2 arpeggio. 2 notes, 1 note, 2 notes, 1 note, 2 notes. some of the most useful tools that I have at my disposal when I'm soloing, okay? So I'm like going... I'll use that all the time. So when I'm playing, what do I have in here? I forget what I had. Okay, so I'm definitely using those kinds of... It's super Eric Johnson thing. Tony, what are you still doing here? I thought you were dismissed. Sorry. Haha. Those arpeggios are completely a great way to capture that Eric Johnson sound, right? Absolutely. So the idea is now we've got a real way of adding 2 color tones. We're adding the major 7 and the 9. All right, then we can make it minor. And then we could make it dominant. Diminished. Half diminished. What else are we missing? I guess that's it, right? There's only, there isn't an augmented one of those. So, so once we learn the major off the A string, we're going to want to know how to do it off the E string. And then we'll want to learn an alternate of that. So you'll notice that this big stretch, let's say we were playing at a G, that is that's a very cumbersome stretch between the pinky on the 7th fret and the middle finger on the 4th fret G. So to accommodate for that, I'll do this. Same exact notes. Okay, so the idea is to be able to then go through your cycle of fifths. But when you get down to here, you're not going to want to go. That's where that new position will come in handy. What does it be? What is that? Something like that, okay? And that way you start to get a greater, more familiarity with that stuff, all right? The next thing we're going to need to do is to learn how to tackle, you know, like those kinds of arpeggios, but those are more like multiple octaves of triads. Tony, you got to run again. Thank you for, I hope that I'm good at explaining this stuff. Yeah, not just music theory word vomit. I think I might be guilty of that, actually. But the idea is if you can't make it simple, then you don't really understand it, usually is one of the ways that I've been told about teaching. If you can't make it simple, then you don't understand it at its essence, okay? So, and then minor. Love me some Dorian. All right. So it sounds like Let It Grow might have some. I'm not sure what it might have some of, but I hope you guys are having fun here. Oh, you mean it might have some of the same chords as What a Wonderful World? Anyway, everybody. So I do want to hip you guys to something. This would help me out. Is if you guys are interested in the tablature stuff that Rye came up with, it is available for sale. I'm uncomfortable about marketing in general, but if you see it in the like the description lines of any of the lessons, let's say you like I Know You Ride or Althea, and you're not interested, you're more of a tabs guy than listening to me yammer for 45 minutes kind of guy. Well, by all means, reach out. Just let me know. Here's $12 to your PayPal, and I'll email you the stuff. Just include your email. So I think right now we've got 10 songs with another 5 or 6 coming. You'll see them in any and all descriptions of my things. So you've got Deal and Bertha and Aiko and a couple others. So if you want to help support the channel and also get some educational materials that might help you if you're that kind of guy who responds well to tabs. I don't. That's why I had to hire a transcriptionist. But everybody kept asking me for tablature, and now that they've asked for it, I guess I got to bring it to market. All right. Somebody asked about how to handle soloing over Brown Eyed Women. Who was that? Let's see what that is. Pardon me while I look around here. Well, where is that? Can't remember. Maybe that person just left, actually. Oh, no, that's Ludwig. Ludwig, are you still here, buddy? So let's look at Brown Eyed Women. Okay, Brown Eyed Women, E major, okay? But out of C with the C sharp minor as the start. So let's look at the first thing you're going to need if you're doing Brown Eyed Women and you want to make a loop is you're going to have to learn how to do the Garcia strum, the kind of that kind of thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so anybody who is interested in that, so that was to Ludwig there. All right, Ludwig, here's what we're going to be thinking about, okay? We're going to learn the melody of the tune. That's going to be our first step, okay? Basically, try taking the melody the first time, okay? So that would be... Try it again. Up an octave, maybe. Okay, so I'm reading the comments here and I'm getting distracted. The idea is here you saw a local cover band play it and they seem to build it up the fretboard and back down. You're talking about Let It Grow? Yeah, I'm not that, you mean the that one? I've never really been that big a fan of that tune. Oh, Brown Eyed Women. Oh, yeah. So Brown Eyed Women is pretty straight ahead because it's all E major. There's no chords in the song that aren't diatonic to or born from the scale of E major. So if you're just playing so depending on what era and how dense you want to make it, you can make it. Yeah, that's hard to play fast. It's hard to play fast. So the way you get there is by practicing chop building. Okay, this is not something that just like pops up overnight. Grab your E major scale. So just up and down. Which pedals should you use in a Jerry pedal board? I would have, well, depending, do you have an amp with reverb? That would be probably the first question, because without reverb, Garcia sounds great with reverb and not so great without it. Reverb is this very cushioning effect that, tab that. I don't tab that. There's no reason to tab that. You can do that 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, just straight up the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, bam, bo, do, da, da. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then down. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're gonna need to get your E major scale down for sure. You should definitely know how to do that by now, though. All right, and then you start doing it in thirds, and so triplets, quadruplets, quintuplets, sextuplets, all that stuff. Playing in groups of stuff like that. Scott, maybe we should talk about getting you a lesson or two just to get you squared away. That's not the end of the world. All right. As far as playing fast, right? You want to get to the point where you figured out how to play fast. And a great deal of that has to do with an awareness of, let's envision these as like, say, the A and the D and the G string. As I'm picking, right, if I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the A string, no problem. But the second that I'm trying to change to the D string, right? If I go 1, 2, 3, and I want to be thinking in terms of alternate picking, that means I have to go out, down, in, and up to do an upstroke. So that occurs because I'm playing in the line of the strings. We call it the plane of the strings. This is, so if you're picking parallel to it, you're constantly having to do this to come in and out of the strings. All those little squares, they're the killer, because in order to stop your hand, you have to twitch it out and push it back to make it stop, then twitch it down and twitch it up to make it stop, then push it in and make it stop. And so there's lots of hard stops. What we're looking to do is remove all those corners, okay, just like anything, a straight line. But rather than going up and down parallel with the plane of the strings, let's tip it on its axis like this, so that the downstroke is trapped, but the upstroke is free. So we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes, dit, 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 dit. And each time we come up on our upstroke, we're free to then change strings. All right. If we don't do it like that, we're going to go 1, 2, out, down, in, 1, 2, up, out, down, in, down, 2, like, so we're constantly doing this kind of, when you see somebody's wrist doing this, that's what I call card. It looks like they're dealing a deck of cards, doing this. Where the hand's doing that, like, and like one of my favorite players does that, but it's like the most terrible thing to watch. When Jimmy Herring plays, he's got this wild, like he picks here. He's 10,000 times the guitar player I will ever be. I want to be very clear. However, his approach is a marvel that he works on this larger pendulum, okay, to get away from the in and out. He's not really doing this so much as more like a full rotational thing. When he picks, it's very fast, almost like he's turning a set of keys or something like that. So that rotational wiggle is able to be sustained quicker than going out and in and up and down. He has like a pendulum rather than the squares. If you see yourself going out, down, in, and doing that kind of thing, that kind of out thing, that's no good. But we want to learn how to get faster. Well, the way you do that is you take the motion of going and then rotate your hand forward a little bit so that the upstroke is free and clear of the strings. All right, now what happens though is if we hit 3 notes on a string, we would go down, up, down, and we would have to come out. Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere too. I mean, all you have to do is, Wesley, you could definitely find a lot of it on the Troy Grady's Cracking the Code stuff. The truth is I was doing this stuff, but I didn't realize I suffered from a certain amount of I was a little ignorant in that. I knew sometimes my playing would work effortlessly, and then other times it would get all what I would think of as being kind of constipated. Like it would be like, and seize up, all right? So the thing that helped stop that was realizing the way the system works is based on the number of pick strokes taken, all right? And if you're gonna commit to this idea of tilting your hand forward a little bit, okay, you have to be aware of when you hit 3 notes on a string or 3 strikes, okay, you can sound 3 notes. Like you can do pull-offs, right? Or go, that's still just 2 pick strokes. The direction of the pick needs to be going in the upward direction for you to change strings effortlessly, okay? So oftentimes, instead of going and then having to rotate and come into that upward position, I'll do down, up, pull off. So you'll see that. So I'll do that a lot. Down, up, slide, right? Or going up. Down, up, slide, down, up, slide, down, up, slide. So that's how you can get some speed. Oops, sorry, a little flumper dumpled in there. So I don't really have too many. There's a lot more in people that are a lot more intense about right hand pick etudes than I am. I'm more about content and that leads towards more melodic ideas and little tricks that I get into. This is just more like if I was teaching somebody and they no, it's fine, you're very welcome. If I was teaching somebody and I saw that they were having trouble if they were getting jammed up, that would be one of the first things I would examine. Is just like, hey, how fast can you just hit one note on one string, you know? And then how fast could you then go and play 4 notes on one string with an accent on the first hit? Okay, so if you can sit there and go to this D note and go 1, 2, 3, 4, now start speeding it up. Look at the positioning of my hand. See how the pick is leaning down? I can't do it nearly that fast or with that much power or accuracy in this inverted position. Like, look how weak that is, right? So this is like the equivalent of surfing backside or backhand in tennis, or having to do something goofy foot like skateboarding goofy foot, right? It's weird, right? It feels very uncomfortable. So I do everything I can. I have a very asymmetric right hand. I'm not proud of. I mean, I like the fact that I play rhythmically sound, but it's not like I look at it and go, oh, everything's perfectly in order. I look at my own house and I'm like, oh, it's a mess. Now, granted, it's farther along than a lot of my fellow players, but I know where the bodies are buried over here for sure, and it's my upstroke, 100%. So what do I work on when I come down here and it's like, hey, it's time for me to get better? Upstroke, 16th notes, accenting on the 1. Because man, if I'm 160 BPM with the downward, I'm like well shy of that, like half power. And you're only as strong as your weakest link unless you devise lines that actually don't include those liabilities that I just talked about. So let's just say that like you have the world's shittiest vibrato. That's got to be like the worst thing, because now you could never really stop playing, because if you stop playing and you just kind of go, it sounds dead. But if you stop playing and your shitty vibrato kicks in, all of a sudden, that's worse. So for me, like I've figured out ways of avoiding rotating into that upward position and playing as poorly as I feel like I do. Or if I need to do something flashy, I make sure that it can be done in the method that I can do it. Like I don't, especially if I'm figuring out things, like I'll definitely make sure I can do it. So that's one of the reasons why I really embraced a lot of Eric Johnson's and Django Reinhardt's and Yngwie Malmsteen's like double down technique. Okay, you get that a lot in gypsy jazz. And it turns out Eric Johnson does it a lot, and I happen to love Django and Eric Johnson are two humongous influences on me. So I was doing a lot of that stuff because it was the only way I could make those sounds happen. And I did a little research into how the gypsy jazz stuff was pretty well documented, actually. People understand the orthodoxy of that technique. Okay, but a lot of the other stuff, it wasn't until Troy Grady came out with his treatise. I mean, he's like an amazing online educator. If you haven't ever checked out Cracking the Code, the only bummer is for hippy dippy jam guys like me, a lot of the music is more geared towards the music of my youth, like a lot of shreddy metal stuff, which I happen to absolutely adore and respect. But I could see a lot of people that aren't into that kind of music kind of shying away from studying how to achieve the speed that those players access, because they think that music is irrevocably tethered to, that technique. But it isn't. It's what you do with it that matters. So take a look at Troy Grady. He has a free website. Like you can browse on the website pretty much all you want. But then there's like a whole online community. I've yet to join it, because frankly, most of the stuff that I needed to get was totally available for free. and it helped explain a lot of the things that I was going through as a player. We're talking, I think he's been doing it for 10 years or something like that. He's a really smart guy. He talks too much like me, but he's got his shit together. So yeah, check that out. All right, so as far as back to Scott asking about what pedals he should use in a Jerry pedal board, you're going to need an envelope filter. So you're going to need something that does, let me see, what do I have here? I have 2 overdrives. I have like a fuzzy overdrive and an octave. So you get like that. So that way you get that. That kind of thing where you're getting the kind of. To that. Right. There's your wah thing. Right? Yep. Okay, beautiful sound. Use a little light overdrive and echo. Sorry, get off that bridge pickup. Little delay. Just one delay. Maybe sometimes I'll have, the Kemper is really great because, you can add bigger delays, like more spacious things like this for when it gets spacey. Like, so you get more. So if I go to the neck pickup and play something. Right, and then I can add more reverb. Pretty nice for that kind of. Cooking here. I don't know. I have a little phaser that I use sometimes, like when I'm doing Althea, I'll have a little bit of phaser in there. On the solo in particular. Do too much. Pretty much you just need a good clean sound, nice reverb, and a little overdrive pedal. Sometimes I'll access, like if I'm looking for the, what I call the hive of bees, that kind of, when you're doing the, what is it? Yes, I can definitely explain to your wife how integral it is. Just tell her that these effects pedals, they look great on the coffee table. It's like an object of art. It's amazing. Or you can just man up, dog, and buy some shit and deal with it. this is a nice sound that I'll often access for like Samson, right? Something like that, right? I'll also use that when I'm doing the spacey section in what is it? Help on the Way. The little the Slipknot, the big. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I pretty much am out of stuff to talk about, but thank you very much, everybody, for hanging out with me a little bit. It's super fun to have. It's nice to have friends in the computer, for there are no friends in my house. I think my son just came home actually with an old friend of his, so might be time for me to go pretend to be a parent for a second or two. Folks, signing off from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you very much for chiming in. And like I said, if you happen to see a lesson and it says tabs available, the way you get to it is, you're very welcome, Scott. The way you get to me is just to write down, hey, was it jack_divine@hotmail.com is my PayPal address. And they're $12 a piece to help offset the cost of having them done. So they are good transcriptions, and I think they're all cool. Still catching up on last week's vids, but I've made a huge difference in my and you're playing in a good way. I hope so, Greg. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to hang out. It's weird. It's weird to kind of have a little office hours type community, but it does feel nice. I gotta say, it's something I didn't think I would necessarily ever do, but it is fun. What is that? It's a chord. All right. Well, listen here, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you around. Probably won't get a chance to do anything over the next couple of days because I don't know. I got to get ready for my gig on Tuesday, and I'm rehearsing Monday, and I have a feeling there is going to unfortunately be a plane ticket out back to San Diego to say goodbye to some family member, to say goodbye to my aunt and go to a funeral and all that stuff. So if I disappear for a little bit, sorry folks, that's what you get for putting your faith in a flake. I don't know what to say. All right, take care, everybody.